Good morning. So I thought I would just come out here this morning and get a few chores done in the garden. It is winter, so there's definitely not as much to do, but I find there's a few things that are just really important to keep up on, and you just got to keep an eye on things. I've got to do some watering. That's super important in the winter just because the temperatures are cold. It does not mean that you don't need to water your plants. I hope that this camera isn't shaking too much because it is a bit chilly this morning. It's in the 30s and I'm already getting cold, so I better go ahead and just get to work. Okay, so one of the chores in my garden is to check under my row covers and just make sure everything's doing okay, that there are no leaves that have gotten in around the sides that are causing a problem for any of the plants, things like that. These are row covers that I got from Gardener Supply. People always ask where I got them. They're super nice. I think they're called the Accelerator row cover. They kind of heat things up, but they've got a mesh top up here, and so moisture can get through. A lot of times if I'm feeling a little lazy, I'll just water on top of them, honestly, and between what gets down the sides and what comes through the top, they do just fine, and really everything gets wet underneath it. So I'm gonna go ahead and raise this up and check. I've got a bunch of seedlings growing in here right now, and so I just want to see how everything's looking. So here are all my little seedlings. This is some mustard, and I've got some bull's blood beets, which I don't know if those beets are really coming up, and then matador spinach, which I'm super happy with this because every so often I have trouble with spinach and it doesn't really sprout, or it takes forever. And so I'm actually really pleased to see that this has sprouted. It looks really nice. Here's what I'm talking about with a rogue leaf. Just move that out. I've got a couple leaves over here that I'm sort of trying to limp along, and I don't know, but maybe they'll do okay. These leaves aren't really a problem because there's nothing planted here yet. And then these peas that are just definitely done, I'm gonna go ahead and remove those. Okay, so just gonna pull out all of these peas. They're definitely past their prime. In the winter, I always miss gardening, and even though it's sometimes cold and I feel I don't know if I want to really go out there, it's so nice to just get out in the garden and do a few chores. It makes you feel you're not quite, quite as stuck inside, and there's still something to do out here. I just gotta move on to the next bed now. So here's the next garden bed, which is just kind of a hodgepodge of things. I've got some lettuce in here. This is Forellenschluss lettuce, my favorite lettuce. I've got some carrots. There's actually a bunch of snapdragons and some other lettuce. Now, it got really pretty cold last night, and so that lettuce is looking kind of sad. I think it'll probably be okay. It always makes me nervous. I always come out here and kind of second guess it because it just looks so frozen, but we'll see. I'm just gonna put the cover back on. I think that most of these leaves are probably just acting as insulation and they're not interfering with these big plants, so I'm just gonna leave them in there and put the cover back on. On to the next beds. These two beds do not have any row covers on them right now. The cabbages are doing fine in this temperature, and I actually have all those leaves in there specifically to just kind of mulch for the winter, so I'm gonna leave all those. And then this bed is full of arugula, which is super cold hardy. You can see, even compared to the lettuce, it looks a little wilty, but it's definitely not as sad. And it didn't even have a row cover on here, so I think it's gonna be totally fine. I ended up pulling the row cover off because I had some little I don't know if they were aphids or spider mites. Some little critters were just totally living underneath the row cover. I honestly think it was staying too warm, which was great for the plants, but because I had that infestation, just in this bed too. It wasn't even in any of the other beds, so there was kind of a little infestation going on, and I figured if I just take the row cover off, the arugula, for one, will not care, but the little bugs will actually get killed by the cold temperatures, and that'll be a good thing, setting me up especially for next year. I don't want to keep a population of little bugs like that going underneath the row covers. So I just pulled the row covers off and letting the arugula do its thing. We've got some really cute little violas in here too. There's, I think, some yellow ones and a couple pansies. I probably need to get in and trim up the violas. That would be a good chore for me to do. I think I'll go ahead and do that now. I find that a lot of these viola plants can get a little bit leggy, and so by trimming them back, it helps to make a much stouter plant and like healthy, bushy little plant. So even if you lose a couple blooms, like let's say in the next week or two, I'm not really expecting a lot of blooms this time of year anyways. I'm not too worried about that, and in the end, I'm gonna have a much better looking plant. So it's worth it to me, sacrifice a little growth now for a much better looking garden in the future. Okay. I think that's good enough for now. I'm gonna pull out some of these leaves, but I'll leave a few of them in too, again, just to kind of act as a little bit of insulation and mulch. I'm not super worried about having a few leaves in the garden beds. So another good policy, like in the winter, I just come around and check on my containers. Again, I've got some, we've got a road pretty close to us, so you can hear that probably. This is such a pretty viola. Okay, I think I'm gonna maybe wait till that one is done blooming, and then I'll maybe trim back the viola plant. Okay, now we're gonna check in the tomatoes. Oh, those tomatoes are not looking good. I'm not ready to pull them out yet. I'm not ready to give up. That tomato is almost ripe. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna pull it and I'm gonna bring it inside and let it ripen all the way on the counter. There we go. My December tomato. Alright, so now that I kind of checked on everything, I'm gonna go grab a broom, sweep up. That's always an important thing to do, and then give everything a good drink of water just to make sure that everything's got the water it needs, and that'll be, I think, most of my chores for the day. I just popped inside because it is cold. You can see my cheeks are so red. I just want to chat really quickly about my watering schedule. A lot of people talk about like every couple weeks watering their containers. We've had such a dry fall and winter so far, almost no rain. So I've been watering my containers like every few days, maybe like twice a week. And I found that I really have to do that in order to keep the plants happy, just because it's been so dry. Usually we have a lot of rain in the winter, but I don't know, for whatever reason this year we do not. So that's how much I've been watering. Thanks for hanging out in the garden with me today. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.